Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the Day in Film mini cast. It is your host, the Patnator, as always, and today I have a lovely movie to talk about. This review has been in the works for years, just like the movie, and I'm very excited to talk about this movie that I've been so greatly anticipating. But before I get into the lovely film I have to talk about today, I first have to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for 260 subscribers last I checked. I know uploads have been slow and very spread apart, but I'm working on a new schedule that should hopefully get me back to a slightly more consistent uploading schedule. I know this review is coming out before, I'm pushing this review to the front just for the sake of relevancy, and I'm sorry, I'm sure a lot of you are waiting for Conclave reviews or, Hard Eyes or whatever it may be, but trust me guys, I'm working on it. With all that out of the way, though, again, thank you for the excellent support of the channel. I read every comment. I appreciate every single subscriber. Thank you all for commenting on older videos, too. I know a couple of you subscribed from specifically the Tucker, the Man in the Dream video. It really does mean the world to me. I love that you guys are interacting with my content, even older content, when I clearly wasn't putting as much effort into it. But with all that out of the way, let's finally get into what you're here for. Today, I have finally watched Bong Joon-ho's Mickey 17 in IMAX. And you know what? Let's start with the man, the myth, the legend, Bong Joon-ho. So in case this name doesn't ring any bells for you guys, Bong Joon-ho is a Korean director. He is probably most famous for directing 2019 award-winning, Oscar Best Picture award-winning film Parasite. I remember at the time it was a huge upset, and even to me, I remember being angry that my awesome Joker movie didn't win. And I remember watching it and thinking, wow, no wonder. I even made a video on Parasite with my significant other in a previous video. But let's talk a bit more about Bong Joon-ho, because I've seen now 4 of this guy's movies, and I'm pretty confident in saying that I love every single one. I'm gonna glance over Parasite a little. You guys can watch a 20-minute video about me talking about it if you really want. I'm really here to talk about Okja and Memories of Murder. We'll start with Memories of Murder because I think this is, by a mile, my favorite Bong Joon-ho movie. Memories of a Murder is a much more realistic detective movie trying to find a serial killer in a small Korean town, from what I remember. And Bong Joon-ho is so good at telling a dramatic story like this. If I had to clump the 4 movies of his I've seen into categories, I'd say Memories of a Murder and Parasite are separate, and Okja and Mickey 17 are separate. Now I know I haven't seen Snowpiercer, I know I haven't seen The Host, I know there are a lot of excellent Bong Joon-ho movies that I haven't seen. I'm getting there, guys, trust me. But those are definitely the 2 groups, because I think Memories of a Murder takes such a serious subject, and it's told with such seriousness. There's really nothing super funny about that movie. Well, there's Bong Joon-ho's staple flying kick, which I think appears in most of his movies. Unfortunately, it only sort of appears in Mickey 17, from what I could remember. But other than that, Memories of Murder is a much more serious movie, and that's why I love it. It's told so beautifully, visually it's stunning. There are some truly heart-stopping moments, and it's just a very interesting, perfectly made movie overall. Okja is a much more comical movie, a lot like Mickey 17. I think actually, again, of the few Bong Joon-ho movies I've seen, I think he took inspiration from Okja in certain specific factors while making Mickey 17. Because Okja is a lot more about capitalism, and rest assured, Mickey 17 does tell a political story, but we'll get into that. Okja is a lot more about capitalism and greed. I want to say Tilda Swinton's in this movie. She plays a super evil, monopoly-owning woman. Okja is a lot more of a critique about the meat industry, whereas Mickey 17 is more about, I guess, American politics, if you had to put it in some box. I will say that of the 4 I've seen, Okja is definitely my least favorite. Now, that's not saying it's bad, because I think Okja is a great movie, but I think it's definitely his weakest, his least striking, I guess. And so let's finally get into Mickey 17. So dear viewer, you may be asking yourself, or even me right now, why are you hyping up Mickey 17 so much? Why are you acting like this movie is what you've been waiting for the last 3 years? And because it is. And why are you talking it up like it's so great? My friend saw it and thought it was just okay. And guys, Mickey 17 is a testament to how multifaceted a director can truly be. When you realize that Bong Joon-ho's last movie before Mickey 17 was Parasite, it really makes you think, this guy is so genius and so talented and so great at making movies that he can go from an incredibly serious, incredibly deep critique of wealth and class warfare and things like that to making a almost straight comedy with 2 Robert Pattinsons in it. And that's going to segue me into my first point. The acting in Mickey 17 is tremendous. I'm going to save Robert Pattinson for last because he really is that great. Naomi Ackie, I haven't seen her in much else. I think this is the only film I've seen her in. She is very special in this movie. She is a very special actress. She's a British black woman. She has a very recognizable voice, and she, as weird as it sounds, she has a very good cussing voice. A lot of her dialogue in this movie, which she doesn't have a lot of, is just screaming and cussing, which is not a bad thing. She's a very spirited character, and she's very interesting as well. Steven Yeun, or however you say his name, Steven Yeun, I absolutely adore him after watching Beef and after seeing him in Nope and Sorry to Bother You and Okja and all of these awesome movies. Every time I see him in something, I am truly just in amazement or amazed or whatever you want to say. I unfortunately have not seen Burning yet, but that is definitely up there as one of the movies that I really want to see. So he is great in this movie, even if he plays a more minor role. Mark Ruffalo is amazing. I'll get into his character a little bit more as I get into the story, but Mark Ruffalo plays a very important villainous role. He plays a very good incompetent villain, which is perfect for a kind of mixture of comedy, drama, whatever you want to call Mickey 17. Toni Collette plays Mark Ruffalo's wife. I've only seen her in 1 or 2, or I guess actually looking now, 5 things, apparently. She's very good in this movie as well. Bong Joon-ho really wanted to do a more weird movie. The villains in this movie are a lot more weird. Mark Ruffalo's character has clear, confidence issues, and Toni Collette's character is obsessed with sauces, in her cooking. So it's definitely a more weird antagonists, much like Tilda Swinton in Okja. She's a very spirited, odd character, and in this movie, Toni Collette is a very strange person. Unfortunately, I can't say I know many of these other actors. They're all great. I don't think there's a single actor that disappoints. But let's finally get into Robert Pattinson and his brilliant performance. Now, at this point, I think Robert Pattinson is more popular for his more serious recent roles as, the Batman, as the guy from The Lighthouse, as the crazy guy from Good Time. So it's nice to see such a talented actor finally, not to say that Twilight ruined his career or anything, but for a very long time, that's what everyone knew him for. And now I think it's very nice that he's getting even comedic roles. He had a lot of serious roles in a row to kind of pull him out of the Twilight stigma, and now he can go back to doing whatever he wants, and he's great in this movie. He's actually probably one of the best parts of this movie. He has to play Mickey 17 and also Mickey 18, or his real name, Mickey Barnes. Their chemistry in this movie, both of the Mickeys, is truly something special. It goes from a hate relationship to a love relationship, and even if the character arc isn't incredible or deep or anything, it's almost moving just to see these 2 identical people learn to love each other, as stupid as that sounds. And so what makes his performance so special is that both of these Mickeys, again, despite being the exact same character, are so tonally different. Mickey 17 is a lot more of a timid, reserved guy, and Mickey 18 is a much more assertive, bold, whatever words you want to use to describe him kind of guy. Or as Naomi Accie's character describes it, Mickey 17 is mild, and Mickey 18 is habanero. So I think it's really special what Robert Pattinson and what Bong Joon-ho is able to pull out of him for this movie. He does a funny voice inspired by, I think, Ren and Stimpy, where I did see that a while ago. I think it's very special, and it manages to be in the movie without feeling silly. This is a silly, I'd say it's more of a comedy than a drama, but they managed to play both Mickeys remarkably straight, and not in like obviously not a sexuality way, like they managed to play it without it being ultra ridiculous. It's really sweet. There is a lot of narration by Mickey in this movie, and I think that's going to segue me right into the story. Now, even though I've described Mickey 17 as more of a comedy than anything, this movie is by no means a straight comedy. It is definitely a mixture of multiple different genres, and I think that's a very good thing for the movie. I think it ends up kind of keeping it out of a box that Bong Joon-ho clearly didn't want it to fall into, and I think the story is one of the biggest testaments to this fact. They really don't play Mickey's suffering and torture for laughs most of the time. Well, they play the suffering for laughs, but they don't play Mickey's character for laughs. He's not dying on purpose. He's not throwing himself into meat grinders unless he's being forced into one. It's really just how it goes for him. And I think that's a really important thing, because it's only funny to the audience if Mickey is really like beaten down by it, and he definitely is. This movie focuses a lot more on how horrible the situation is and just how everyone's kind of dealing with it, and it's a lot of not quippy dialogue, but just cleverly written, enjoyable dialogue. I think the film's biggest thing to offer is actually its very sharply written dialogue, also written by Bong Joon-ho. This guy's a genius. Maybe not a genius, but very talented. And I think the story of this film is what makes it so special. Just having Robert Pattinson, as much as I would love to say so, just having him in a movie doesn't mean it's going to be perfect. He's definitely made some stinkers, and seeing him in this movie completely tear it up in a great way with Robert Pattinson, or with Bong Joon-ho directing so efficiently, is very sweet. I think the setting of the movie is great as well. I think it's a brilliant idea to put it in space and on a different planet. It makes it all feel so separate and far away from everything else, so that there isn't a lot of intertwining with everything else. You're not really asking, oh, how does China feel about this? It's more of just what the film has to offer, which is great. And speaking of offerings and people who love to offer things to China, let's talk about the characters, and more specifically, Mark Ruffalo's character. Now, what I think in this film will age the most poorly, and what will age the most in this film when you go back to watch it in 10 or 15 years, is definitely Mark Ruffalo's character, Kenneth Marshall. Now, I have no idea what political standings Bong Joon-ho takes. He is obviously Korean, he's not American, so I don't really know. I don't know if he even lives out here, so I have no idea if he would really care about anything American politics-wise, but no matter where you stand on the spectrum, there are certainly things to make fun of in American politics and in just the culture of America right now. And Bong Joon-ho definitely hones a lot of the comedy of the film in on Mark Ruffalo's character and his bald assistant Preston. Now, we can talk about Preston later, played by Daniel Henschel, but let's talk more about Mark Ruffalo's character and the obvious President Trump allegory. Now, I'm not going to let you know my political standings. I'm sure you could guess and probably be right, but that's just not important for what I'm going to talk about. Now, while I do think it funny, the character that Mark Ruffalo plays and the way that Bong Joon-ho directs him and writes the dialogue for him, no matter where you stand, an incompetent leader is always a funny one to watch. That's why Spaceballs is so popular. I do think that a lot of this criticism and commentary feels so directly targeted to certain things that he does that I think eventually it won't be seen as relevant, and it'll actually age pretty poorly. You can see that in a lot of older, and I'm not saying that it's comparable in any real way, but a lot of older, like 2016 prime feminist versus real men, like commentary channel era YouTube and Instagram and Twitter. A lot of it does feel like Orange Man, or like dumb Orange Man, evil Orange Man. And I just think, in this movie, there's obviously no Orange Man, as I say, but I think this will age a little poorly, and I think the way that it's handled is a little flimsy and not as great as it could be. Now, in saying that, Mark Ruffalo's character is still absolutely hilarious, and his wife, Toni Collette's character, Yifa, is excellent in this movie. But I think this is definitely where the film will age the most. But where the film will not age is definitely the technical aspects. Now, earlier as I was talking about how this film feels very inspired by Okja, admittedly I will say it was a little surface level. It's really just two things in this movie, one of those being Toni Collette's character and the way she's obsessed with food, but it's mainly about the CG creatures that end up being the main, antagonist slash stress trauma drama of the movie. I would definitely say that I think they're called creepers. They play a very important part of this film, and I will definitely say that I think the CG on them looks great, and that's where I think it's most inspired by Okja, having CG creature monsters be the main pinpoint of the movie. I think that's really good. Bong Joon-ho knows how to do it great. Okja was a great movie. This is a great movie. And so technically these creatures work incredibly well, and they match both the aesthetic of the planet that they're on, and visually they don't feel out of place. Or Okja, in a lot of moments in that film, felt very fantastical. It felt very just not fitting in with planet Earth, but these creatures are in space, and they are in space, so it makes a lot more sense, and it doesn't really hit that uncanny valley part of your brain as much. Probably my most enjoyable part of this film, at least the part that I'll enjoy the most looking back at, is the music. Composer, and forgive me, I'm going to absolutely butcher this Korean man's name, Jung Jae-il, I think looks like how you're supposed to say it. He's clearly very good friends with Mr. Bong Joon-ho. He's composed for most of his other movies. He makes some really excellent, goofy pieces in this movie that actually remind me a lot of Poor Things for some reason. That could just be a little thing in my brain misfiring, but that's what it reminded me of. And his music fits so well in this movie that I think it's a testament to how important music is in a film. And so I think really what I appreciate just as much as that is the cinematography. It would be very easy to mess up such a boring setting for a movie. It's a snow planet that is constantly in a snowstorm and a big gray spaceship. And yet the cinematographer, or the head of camera operations, or whatever you want to call him, the excellent and lovely Darius Keong-diji, another Korean man who also made Seven and Uncut Gems. He is excellent in this movie. He makes everything pop with life. Just a lot of the visual choices and set design things in this movie are great. The people in the Senate or whatever it is in the red dresses, that looks really good. Even like the food slop and like those 10 minutes on Earth are really special. This movie just has a lot of great people behind it, so that everything in front of you, all the actors and all the music and all the cinematography, just makes it so much greater than the most important people. And I think it's a testament to how cinema and movies are a group effort. It's not just one person behind everything in this movie. As much as I like to say that directors make or break a movie, and how Bong Joon-ho has helped so much, it really does show how it's a group effort, and I really do quite enjoy that. Now, in saying all of that, this movie is not making its budget back. This movie opened to 24 million, I think, or something like that, and it cost about 118 million to make. So this is definitely not a moneymaker. Now, if you haven't seen Mickey 17, I absolutely beg that you go watch it, because my review is nowhere near good enough to really, to really make it worth enjoying, or to really not go see the movie. Seriously, please go see it. I'm tripping over my words really bad right now, but please do go see it. It's a magical movie. Let's get into my final thoughts. And so I am pretty much about to conclude my thoughts for Mickey 17. Now, I will say a lot of my enjoyment from this movie is no doubt thanks to the excellent director and Robert Pattinson. I was definitely, I think, the most into it in the theater. It feels like a lot of the people around me didn't really care as much, which is just how it goes, unfortunately. But I think Mickey 17 is, I mean, so far, not that it's been too far into the year, but I think it's definitely one of the highlights of the 2025 year of film. I definitely say this is my favorite movie this year so far. As much as I love Paddington and Peru and Last Breath, I would say this is my favorite movie of the year, and I think I'll definitely go back looking at it going, man, I did not appreciate Mickey 17 enough. But that's really all I have to say about Mickey 17. I know this is a much longer video than usual, but I really just had to talk about as much as I could. I've been waiting for this movie for like 3 years, guys, so forgive me if I'm extra rambly or extra excited. I really am. Like, seriously, I enjoyed watching this movie. I enjoyed doing this review. I enjoyed writing about it. I enjoyed literally every step of it. And, you know, Bong Joon-ho is a lovely man. And when this movie isn't nominated for any Oscars, you can bet your dollar that I will be furious. But that's just how it goes. I don't think I have anything else to hit. That seems like that's it. Definitely watch Mickey 17. I gave this movie an 8 out of 10. It is a great movie, definitely one worth watching. Definitely not Bong Joon-ho's best. I enjoyed Memories of Murder more, but hey, when you make a almost perfect movie, it's pretty damn hard to one-up that. But I don't have much more to say. If you made it all the way to the end of this 20+ minute long video, you are a trooper. Really, it does mean the world. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you go watch Mickey 17. And I will see you in the theater.